Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Crave Show with Chris and JRuss. And our special guest this week is Cheryl Stearns. And we're super excited to have you, Cheryl. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. For anybody who is listening, I think we talked last week about the bird I adopted. I'm going to have to mute myself most of the time. The bird is a constant companion at this point, and right now it's kind of quiet, but it makes a lot of noise. So I will be listening, but maybe not talking too much. Chris, you got questions to get started? I wrote down a bunch of questions for Cheryl.
Honestly, I don't even know what questions to ask. Cheryl, I think I've heard your name, but I don't know if I've heard it in other skydiving circles or if I've just heard it from JRuss. So I'm not. How would I have heard your name?
Well, I've been jumping 52 years since 1972, and
Wow.
I have the most jumps in the world since 3,000 jumps. So I've over 22,000 jumps and many world championships, 38-time national champion, many time world champion style and accuracy. So my big claim to fame is style and accuracy and in the parachuting world. And I've run several training camps and so forth and so forth.
Okay, very cool. Do you know Larry Henderson?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay. All right.
So I was born in 71. So you've been jumping for just 1 year less than I've been alive.
Yep.
And I had mentioned to Chris previously when I said you were going to be on that your medal count probably makes me look like a little kid. And for most people, I've got quite a few. So 38 nationals, is that how many years consecutively have you lost in those 38 years?
Yes, I have. I mean, the first nationals was in 1974. I jumped around 7TU at the nationals, and I placed 11th in accuracy and like 11th in style. I think I did like 8th overall, but it didn't put me on the U.S. team at that time. We have a U.S. team every 2 years. It's every even year, so 74, 76, 78. So I made the U.S. team ever since 1976 was my first time. So I've only missed two world meets. I mean, the U.S. team is picked for the world meets. 2 world meets due to one getting hit, hit on my bicycle. Another one, I had a knee injury just before this world meet here. So otherwise, I've made all the meets and I've lost more than I've won. I've done many competitions. And I look at mostly all where am I first place in overall, not seconds or thirds usually. Those are easier to count.
So did you a minute ago you said your first the first nationals, I think you said you jumped around?
Yeah, around canopy. I made
7TU, is that what you said?
7TU. I made 450 jumps on a round canopy before I changed to a square on a Stratastar in 1975 at Rayford. I moved from Arizona to Rayford just for a month, just to try to get with Gene Paul Thacker to get some coaching. And I also worked for him at the drop zone as a pilot. And I told him I had 450 skydives, 450 hours, and I want to be a world champion if he could help me out. So he did. And instead of staying, and we picked the U.S. team a year prior so we could train for as a team for a year. And I ended up never going back to Arizona and been in North Carolina ever since then. So that's how I ended up there. And then through that part, then, here I am living in a hangar at Rayford, making $20 a month, trying to survive. $20 didn't go very far. And I had a dog and all. And I looked at the Golden Knights that were jumping there and asked them, hey, can I join? And no, you can't because you're a female. You're a female and females can't join the Army parachute team. Well, I still continued. It's just like flying. There hadn't been a female airline pilot, but I still continued with my education, my flying skills, my jumping skills, and eventually was the first woman on the Army parachute team in 1977. So that changed, what we have now. And same thing with being a pilot. I finally got on with the airlines after I got out of the active duty part of the Army, but ended up spending 28 years in the Army as a part-time reservist National Guard, and finally retired.
Wow, that's cool. So I'm interested to know that round canopy. How in the world do you do accuracy with a round canopy? I don't understand.
Everything's downwind, and if spotting is very critical, the maximum speed is 10 miles per hour. So, and we land, as I said, downwind. And back then, we shot accuracy on a pea gravel pit, and our disc was 10 centimeters diameter, and they measured out to 10 meters, 5 meters actually for a score. So we had fichets and measuring tapes and so forth to measure you. So you could steer it, and basically by the time you hit, you rolled out of that pit doing 3 or 4 rolls, somersaults, whatever you want to call it, especially if the winds were 10 miles an hour, because you're landing 10 miles an hour, plus your canopy has only a forward speed of 10 miles per hour. So everything's downwind on around, not upwind.
Huh.
And we were
So
young
you
back then.
but you could steer it somewhat.
Oh, absolutely. You could steer it. You can't sink it too much. You can't sink it of any sort. You can steer it. And as I say, that's where real true accuracy was. You had to really spot if you had dog legs, winds at different altitudes. You had to be at X point at X altitude, because you're not going to make it back. I mean, 10-mile-an-hour winds, you're just not going to get there. I mean, nowadays everybody's jumping square. Everybody goes out on the green light, and no one looks outside to see where they're at. But 52 years of skydiving, I don't go out on greens. I look before I leap and make sure even though I have a square, I can somewhat still get back. But our accuracy canopies are huge, and we don't have the forward speed as the little canopy. So we're still in the critical mode of where our spots are.
Cheryl, there's so many questions, but just to start with, can you kind of just give a little bit of backstory about how you were able to convince the Army that you should be the first woman to be on their team?
Well, when I met them, I realized now where I understood why Rayford was such a hot spot, and a lot of people came there, and they became world champions, because you had Gene Thacker, who was one of the original Golden Knights in 1959 when he joined, um, and then the Golden Knights are training there. So I talked to them. Normally, it's a 6-week tryout period. When you got to go in the Army, and then you got to try out for 6 weeks. But mine was a 2-year tryout period. And to finally convince them, I taught many of them how to fly airplanes. I competed against all of them. I would beat them more than 3/4 of the time. And I finally convinced them I'd be a great ambassador for the Army. So they watched me for 2 years, and they finally, Chuck Whittle finally went, one of the executive officers went up to Washington and convinced Washington that I would be a great ambassador for the Army. And so that's how that went. So everything worked out with joining the Army, and then I came in as a photo lab technician, and went straight to the team, and had that slot as a photographer on the team, but got on the competition team and went from there. And then I would do my demos at the end of the season, and they would use me for very high profile demonstration jumps, because it was all about publicity. I mean, at the end of my career, I made $43 million. I saved the military $43 million of free advertisement that they got out of me, the most anybody's ever had. And and
Safe to say you didn't get any of that
no,
$43 million.
I didn't get a dime, but they didn't have to pay for it. you know, it's all about getting the free advertisement. They don't have to pay. And 77 back then was not a high time to recruit people in the military. Vietnam just shut down. They were rifting a lot of folks, but but things were changing for women, that they needed women, but we didn't want women in any job out there unless they were qualified, and especially being a first woman on anything anywhere. So yeah, it took some doing, but all the team members, I worked with them, as I said, taught them how to fly, compete against them, but they're all my brothers. They're still my best friends, best brothers out there. I lived and worked with them for many years.
So Cheryl, I have a question about accuracy,
Mm-hmm.
because for one, I really don't know a lot about it. I mean, I know the basics. You're trying to be accurate, but can you just share with me and also the audience, just as if we know absolutely nothing about accuracy competition,
Well,
what
yeah,
can you?
accuracy way back. Everybody's got to land. I mean, if you jump on an airplane, so they got to land somewhere. So it became our first world meet was in 1951. So it was all about landing in a 10-meter circle. If you can land in a 10-meter circle, you won. Basically, how that worked. And then the parachutes got better and better steerable before you had to do the rear risers for the rounds. And then in 75, 76 time frame, we came into the squares. So now we're still landing pea gravel pit, 10-meter pea gravel pit, 10-cent disc, and then finally we got a little bit better on the squares, and they changed it to a 5-cent disc. And then they got a little bit better, more on the squares, changing the wings, making them fly better, sink better. And then we decided, hey, we're not going to last very long hammering ourselves into the pea gravel pit. So we came up with the tuffet idea. So now we have foam tuffets or air tuffets. So now instead of being busted up at the age 40 with 2,000 jumps, we can jump till I'm 69 and still have great knees and hips and so forth, because I've been laying on tuffets for years. So that cushions us. We can jump longer. And now just like everything in parachuting, the innovation, all the equipment's getting better, safer and safer. So the wings have changed. They've modified this and that. So now we're getting really accurate. So then they went to a um, a scoring system that's only 16 centimeters in diameter. It doesn't matter if you land a meter away, you get 16 cents, or if you land a mile away, you get 16 cents is your maximum score. So now we got the electronic scoring system, and now we moved the target down to 5 centimeters, and then as time went on, we lowered it to 3 centimeters, and now we have a 2 centimeter target. 2 centimeter target is a little bit less than a quarter, or a pop bottle cap is about what the size is. Yeah, it's very small. And
That's the score of 0.
yeah, and our shoes are cut down. In the back, we make a special heel that can't be any less than a centimeter and a half, and it's got to be rubber so we don't damage the electronic pad system. And so, as I say, so then we come in and it's first point of contact. So you want to get the opposite foot up and land on your heel. You don't land on your toes. You got to land on your heel where it's right in front of you. So you must steer your canopy, and you're working with wind conditions and thermals, and we work as a team. We do team jumps, individual jumps. And our team jumps, we go out at 3,300 feet, which is 1,000 meters, and with 5 people. And all 5 people count for your scoring system at a world meet or any of these big meets. Our nationals, we only do four people per round. I mean, for the team. But world competitions, it's 5-man team.
So why do you have to land with your heel? Why not your toe?
You don't want to be passing. A toe is where you're passing the target. You don't have a good strike. You want to heel as if you make just a step. You're just making a step right in front of you. So you just present your heel and make that step. You've got to be able to see that target. You don't want to
Oh,
see if
so
you
that's not a rule that you have to land with your heel. That's just the best
no,
way to do it.
it's that's just the best way to do it. And
Oh, okay.
if you're passing the target, you didn't stop your canopy in time. You go, yeah, you're reaching back with your toe back there.
Oh, okay. I
But you're
see.
not going to get a very good score. I mean, you're to be world class competitor. When we at the nationals, it's 2 centimeters or less for 10 rounds. I mean, someone's going to win with 2 centimeters. Anywhere from 2 centimeters to 5 centimeters is first, second, third place.
So
Period.
if you were reaching with your toe out in front of you, you can't see it.
Yeah, and you would get a flat-footed strike.
Uh,
It wouldn't be pointed. You need a real small point. I mean, our heels, as I said, are especially cut down to 1.5 centimeters. You don't want to jump with tennis shoes because that thing's 5 centimeters wide. So if you even hit the middle, you
oh,
might probably get a 5 cent strike on it. So they're very precise. It's kind of like your foot's extension of a like a tennis. You're looking at the target. Like let's say you play golf or tennis. You look at the zero, which is a yellow disc, so it's like a yellow tennis ball. You don't look at your foot. You just know where your foot is attached to your body, and you're looking at the ball. So when you hit the golf or you hit tennis, you're looking at the ball. You look at your racket or your club, you just missed it.
okay. And so the heel of your shoe comes to somewhat of a point.
Yes, it comes to a centimeter and a half. Yep.
Okay.
And
And
we're
then,
specially designed. We have soccer shoes or wrestling shoes, and where they're flat, and then we add this piece to the back of our heel. We add the
okay.
piece. We don't cut down the
Okay.
shoe. We add the piece.
And that little quarter sized target, it has an
Mhm.
electronic little
Yes.
contact in it. Whenever you touch it, it,
There's a wire in the middle. There's a wire that'll read out 00000, and then there's wires that are 1 centimeter apart all the way out to 16 centimeters on this round. It's like a pie
oh,
plate. Okay, it's like a
oh,
pie
okay.
plate. I don't have any of my equipment, otherwise I'd show it to you. But it's a
So
pie
that's why
plate
if you landed flat footed,
flat. You can
if you
get
landed flat
anywhere
footed,
from
it would touch all those wires
well,
would
it's going to hit
contact.
the first. It's not going to hit. It's going to hit the first um, point somewhere in your foot that measures 6 pounds. So
Okay.
you could hit flat footed, but somewhere you might step, and now you got the score. Okay, so wherever 6 pounds, it only takes 6 pounds of pressure to give a readout on one of those. So if you hit flat foot, you might get 12 centimeters, you might get 6 centimeters, depends how big your foot is.
Gotcha.
You're going to get something there. So you don't want to hit flat foot. You're not going to get a good score.
Okay. Now, the other question I had is why are you landing so hard? Why is it such a hard landing that you have to use the tuffets? I don't understand.
Oh, our canopies when we don't swoop like you guys do. To hit that pinpoint 2 centimeter target, you have to parabolically rotate and come down the last 2 feet. You want zero rate of descent and zero forward speed, almost zero rate of descent, but it's got to be zero forward speed to get a correct strike. So you don't
So
want to be moving forward, but yet you've got to shut it down, and you want to come straight down on top of it where you just put your heel like making a step. You don't want to reach out left, right, or forward of you because you will miss it. So that's how so you cannot do that. And if you misjudge, the winds came, all of a sudden you got a thermal and it picked you up. Now you're 10 feet above the ground and you're right on top of it. The only way is to slowly shut the canopy down where you're not moving forward, you're not moving back, but you're going straight down. Well, if we didn't have the tuffet, we'd all be in ambulances and wouldn't be skydiving anymore. You
Hmm.
have to have the soft tuffet. Otherwise, if we didn't have a tuffet like the old days and we had the pea gravel pit, we had to land with forward speed. You had to protect your body. Now we've got the nice tuffets that save us, and then we just changed the way we shot accuracy. You cannot
Hmm.
hit that small target moving forward. You just can't,
Yeah.
unless you got a lucky strike.
yeah, Chris, if you haven't seen a competition before, they're coming pretty much straight down, deep breaks, making
We're
little
coming,
adjustments.
we're coming straight down, but we're not coming. We're not coming in a stall. It's still flying. We just stopped the forward motion. So if you got 5-mile-an-hour winds and we put some brakes on, we only have a forward speed of our canopies only 17 miles per hour. So if I have 10-mile-an-hour winds and I put half brakes, I'm already backing up a little bit. So, I mean, our ground speed. So if I've got 7-meter winds or 15 miles per hour, that's our max, I would be straight over the target and not moving an inch. I would just be coming straight down, but it's still flying. It's still flying. I'm just not going, my ground speed's not going anywhere. So it looks like, oh, they're just coming straight down, but I land very soft,
Hmm.
you know.
Okay.
And Cheryl, can you, for the people who probably aren't familiar, which is most of our audience, can you talk about what style is or was? I don't think it's part of most competitions anymore, but kind of describe style and
Yeah, well, in the old days, we didn't do two way, four ways. We didn't hook up. We didn't have that ability. Remember, we jumped gutter gear. In other words, we had a front mount reserve, and we had military surplus equipment, and one size fits all. So if you're a big guy, you land like a ton of rocks. If you're lightweight, this pack on my back is huge, but I land soft because the canopy is big for me, and I'm a lightweight. But so style progressed from just being able to make a 360-degree turn. First of all, style was stay stable on the heading. And then they would put a panel out on the ground, and it would be a panel to make a left turn or make a right turn. And all our styles always was at 2,000 meters, which is 6,600 feet. So that's where style was. So you had that amount of time to make a 360 degree on heading. Then people got, man, we didn't have video back there and all that. So we had telemeters where they watched us. It was live, and the judges saw you, 5 judges, and they score you on that. Then our skills progressed. You know, we're able to get a little bit better with all this gutter gear we're wearing. And then it became 2 turns and then 2 turns with the back loop. Now it's progressed with everybody jumps small rigs. We go fast. We go 200 miles an hour. We get out of the airplane. We dive straight down. 15 seconds, build up our speed about 180 to 200. And style consists of, it is the old classic, just like accuracy, but it is the hardest stuff to do. You really have to be a gymnast to be best at it. And it consists of a 360-degree turn left or right, 360-degree right, back loop, 360 left, 360 right, back loop. So it's 6 maneuvers, a race against the clock. So as soon as they'll tell you, hey, this is a left set or right set or left cross or right cross. We have 4 different sets. So you turn, if they say it's a left set, you go 360 left, 360 right, back loop, 360 left, 360 right, back loop. And the time starts as soon as you initiate 1 degree off the turn, off the heading, the time starts. And then you do these 6 maneuvers as fast as you can and as accurate. So the time stops when you finish your last back loop. So that's your base time. Now they slow motion it, and they see if you undershot the turn. If you undershoot it 1 degree to 5 degrees or 10, it's 1/10 of a second. And they keep adding that time to that base time. So you might turn a 7.0 second series, but it might be penalized up to 8 seconds or 9 seconds, depending how bad. The other thing is with style is you cannot pitch up or down more than 25 degrees. And you cannot turn on your side more than 25 degrees. In other words, you can't sit up on your butt and do these 360-degree turns. It has to be flat. And so now the record is, I set a world record at 6.3 seconds for 6 maneuvers. So I'm doing a turn in 600ths of a second. You got to do the turn, stop it, and go back the other way. Stop it, do a loop, stop, and go. So it's a flowing motion, and it's a time because I don't have time to look at the target. The target on the ground is your heading, and that is where the camera is. So that is your 360. And remember, we're a mile up above looking at this small little dinky camera. You know, we don't see the camera. We just see they put a parachute out, you know, like a orange color thing. We kind of turn on that. So you really want to try to overshoot your turns and so forth. So here at the World Meet this year, the Chinese won, and they did 6 maneuvers clean in 5.1 to 5.5 seconds. But they are training now in wind tunnels. They got a harness, gimbal, all that stuff, so they can do everything. We can't compete against them. We're done style. Anybody in the world out there can't. The only people that can do style now is your military, because no drop zone allows us to do it. You know, first of all, the camera's $30,000. It has to have the availability of angle, drift, all that, because that can give you a rejump. If you drift more than 10 degrees, it's an automatic rejump. And same thing if you come in too high or too low on your angle of your free fall, because they put you out and you might drift because of the wind. It's always downwind when we when we get out of the airplane. So if the wind pushed you or pushed you back and your angle got down to 40 degrees, that's an automatic rejump. That's way too far out to try to see this target. You got to see it between 70 and 60 and 70 degrees is where you need to be. So anything past that, it's a rejump. So you got to have that availability, and then you got to have someone running it, and then you got to have a drop zone that allows you to go one jump run at a time. And in the old days, we had Cessnas, and we could do that. Gas was cheap. We can run it. Well, now everything's about turbines. Jump everybody out at one pass. We can't afford around and around and around. So the only people who can really train is your military folks still, because they can afford the fuel and the airplanes and everything else. But us civilians, it's a no game for us. And we're talking about the whole world. The civilians cannot compete, train. Who's going to let you out 7,500 feet? Who's going to let two people out? No one is. It's not costly to them.
Cheryl, can you describe the body position for style?
Yes, it's once you dive, you pull up into a very tight where you're flat on your stomach per se in a way, but your knees are up against your chest and your arms are real tight against your arms, and you want to stay in that ball position, which is very hard because stability wise. And then when you make a turn, your hands they just rotate. They're like little rudders out there. You don't want to stick it out, because if you stick it out, you got to stick out the other leg for stability. So you want to stay as tight as possible. The fastest you can go is being the tightest throughout the whole set. Tight. We're talking about tight. No hand, legs. Legs don't come out. You need to do a turn. You just use a little hand for the rudder. Left turn, right turn, and you rotate them. You rotate them to stop. And same thing with the back loop. Flat. And then as you rotate, you push up. And then you go back again. You don't want to be sticking anything out to be able to go fast.
Chris, you ever seen this before?
No.
Yeah,
There was a guy that came to the Denver tunnel to train it years ago, about 20 years ago. And he was doing it, and I'm standing in the door, and he had kind of a slick suit, like a speed suit that they wear now.
Yeah, we
And
got speed suits.
yeah, I mean, he did it, and he did it for his 2-minute rotation, and there was nobody else flying with him. So I got in and tried it, and I think I'm a decent flyer. It was hard, and like trying to imagine coming out of a dive, like she said, 180 miles an hour, going into that tight ball, and then trying to do these little maneuvers without actually putting any control surfaces out. It was tough.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's very.
So wait, I missed. Tell me all the maneuvers. It's a full 360 left,
It's
full 360
everything,
right.
and then a back loop, and then 360 left, 360 right, back loop, and then you got the right set. Then it's a right, left, back loop, right, left, back loop. Then you got a left cross. You start left, so left, right, back loop, then right, left, back loop. And the right cross is right, left, back loop, left, right, back loop. So you start from the right, then once you've done the back loop, you go the opposite way. And you've got to get that in your head for 10, 20 minutes before you go up in the air to make sure, because once you pull up and go, there's no thought process of which way you're going. It had better be ingrained in your head which way you're going. Because if you go the wrong way, that's an automatic 16-second penalty. You get the max score. You got to go the right way on the right round, and they draw
And
from
so
the
how
maps.
how many of those moves did the Chinese guy do in 5 seconds or 5.5
It's all
seconds?
six.
What
It's 6 moves. It's 2 turns, loop, 2 turns, and loop, and they have to be 360 degrees,
he
not
did?
359
So he did 4 full 360 turns and then
turns
2
and 2
full
back.
flips
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
in
5.1.
5.5 seconds.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And are you saying you have to stop in between each one for just a
No, you have to stop on heading. If you go
oh on
past
heading?
10 degrees, that's all right. 10-20 is all right. But that's adding more time. Instead you're doing a 360, you're doing a 380. So that's
Yeah,
adding
yeah, yeah.
half a split second to your time, 0.05 seconds.
Right, right.
A hundredth of a second to your time. But then the problem is, timing wise, if you overshot at 20 degrees, now you come around and do your 360, you end up undershooting the turn 20 degrees. So now you got to overshoot the turn now 20, and everything's on timing. So if you slightly overshot and you don't have time to be looking at the target, you have no time. It is just strictly feel and you go. You're going
Hmm.
on timing, precision, and if you're in a gymnast, you're not looking. You're going up and coming down, and you know, and it's all timing of when you're gonna stick your feet out and go. Land and plant
And
yourself.
and so I didn't understand why is the dive at the beginning? What's the point of
You
that?
have to get the speed. If you don't get the speed, you cannot go fast.
Oh, you just
You
need that speed to
you
get those
need
turns that quick.
and
You
you
need
don't and
that air. You need that
you
wind
don't
resistance.
yeah, you need the speed and you need to keep the speed up. So that's why we jump in like the skin tight suits that don't breathe at all. You do
Hmm.
not want a suit that breathes because that's going to slow you up as you go through your set. You want to keep that speed up as long as possible. And I cannot, I cannot do work with 200 miles an hour. I can work with 180 between 170 and 180 miles an hour. I physically do not have the strength to work with that speed. You're working with that you're pushing, because if you move that hand, it's going to get ripped out from you. You're pushing
Yeah.
against all of that. You're working with 180-mile-an-hour wind on you, with your hands, and keep the elbows in, keep the legs up, because once the leg drops a little bit, it's going to rip out on you. You physically can't hold it up. So you've
Yeah.
got to keep everything tight as possible and the pitch properly too. And
So
it's
you can hurt a shoulder or something real easy.
absolutely,
Huh.
yeah.
Chris, your next tunnel shift, turn it up to like 90% and try it.
On my belly,
Yeah.
dude.
So
No way. Forget that.
when we dive, we're diving, and our hands, normally when you guys jump, ski jumpers, they'll rotate. They got their hands forward and they cup themselves because they're again trying to get distance. It's like if you dive and you're trying to get down and you need to go forward, 150 yards or so, you're going to cup your chest here and move forward. We don't want to move forward. We have to go down. And sometimes if they put me in too tight, I need to go backwards. So
Hmm.
then, it's like when you fly upside down. So I rotate my hands and I push them behind me so I can go backwards so I can get that 60, 70-degree angle that I really need. And then when I come up to pull my legs up and my arms and my chest, keep my chest down, I knife edge my hands beside my legs. I cannot flat them or anything. They have to be knife edge when I come up, and then rotate my knees up. And now I can get my hands flat. And now I'm riding on that surface of that wind. And
Hmm.
if I can stay in that small ball, and don't stick something out, then I can stay stable there. And it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. JRuss, did you hear? She said something really, really important. Basically, she told us that she can go angle flying with us if we want her to.
Oh yeah.
That's what
Oh
she just
Yes, I
described
heard
was
that.
angle flying.
yeah. Yes, I can. I can
Yeah, I
move
bet you. I
myself
bet you
left to
sure can.
right, head down. I can go backwards, forwards. I can,
Yeah, me,
I can
me and
twist
JRuss probably
myself.
wouldn't be able to keep up with you, actually.
No, I'd be straight down on that. And I
I
have
mean, think
no
of all those
fear
young
about
people.
going straight down.
So many people who feel like they invented angle flying. They didn't
No
even come
way.
close.
Nope. They didn't even know
We've
it.
been doing it for years,
That's
years and
cool.
years.
That's so cool.
So Cheryl, over the years, you've seen a ton of changes in the sport, and
Yes.
can anything off the top of your head, like what are some of the big ones that you think, and um, what do you think of the evolution of our sport?
Well, it's evolved from two disciplines, style and accuracy, to 11 disciplines, and it's evolved from uh, military gear that was somewhat safe. We didn't have automatic openers, per se, to very sophisticated, safe equipment. As long as you respect that equipment, as long as you respect the sport too, it's a very safe sport. So it's the safety issues evolved. I mean, there's some things like we used to get out at 1,800, 2,000 feet. We had canopies that don't open like your small little rigs out there that once they open, if it starts in a spin, it's going to continue. I mean, you guys have different lines, from really skinny stuff that you can't take a spin of any sort. If it does, you need to cut away. So, but those are different disciplines out there, different canopies that are. I mean, the canopies evolved to fit the discipline, and all the other disciplines have gotten better. Um, Crew, I mean the canopy formation flying. Oh my gosh, when I did that a long time ago, we all jumped different rigs, different canopies, and trying to do that was dangerous back then, and we lost a lot of people through that. We've lost some people through, swooping, but now things have gotten better. You've got they've learned the hard way. And yes, we had to kill a few people, same thing on accuracy and all that, but every discipline has gotten safer and safer. Accuracy's very, very safe. We've got excellent canopies that open nice, and we all fly big canopies so we can land soft, so we can jump for years and years without injuring ourselves. I look at swooping. That's the only thing that scares me, is because they're back to where we were 50 some years ago. They come in, they swoop, and then they've got to shoot accuracy on sand and land fast, and they impact hard. And I watch that and I go, oh my gosh, their back is going to hurt like my back hurts. They crush something if they don't do it right. I mean, we moved away from that. We got out of that. That's where we ended up with the tuffets, and so we can land soft. They need to have a tuffet at the end, so they can protect their backs. Put something on there big enough to where they land on a nice foam tuffet or air tuffet, so and they can slide on it too. So maybe that will be in somewhere down the road. They'll go, we need to make this safer, less not have the injuries that you guys have in the swooping events. These head down stuff, it's phenomenal what people can do and how they fly, sit flying. I mean, I did sit flying years and years ago before it was ever invented, that we did back then, but it was never a competition. So I think it's great that the sport has evolved with many disciplines that people can get into. Accuracy and style is a dying dinosaur because it is the oldest, and it's not. People don't see it at the drop zones anymore. Everybody has to land. They land somewhere on the big airport. But and as they get better, they land closer and closer, and they can do their um, little swooping and land where they need to land. And now we've got all your stuff from demos that we've got to get your pro rating, all that stuff. Everybody back in our days, everybody's pro rated. You had to be. You didn't land off the drop zone. You landed in that 10-meter area. It was just what we did, you know. And we were all trained. We were all trained we were trained in that all the time. People aren't trained in accuracy and how to really fly their canopies unless they're, CRW, or most people just free fall and then just land somewhere. And they really don't know how to fly a canopy properly until you got thousands of jumps, and then you're getting into that area. But I'm talking about students. They're afraid to get out of the airplane low because they start out high altitudes. Now, oh, you got to get out 5,000. Oh, you got to get out 3. Oh my gosh, that's low. But it's normal for us. You're gonna have to play.
Cheryl, is there
5,000 is kind of high.
Cheryl, is there anything in skydiving that you haven't gotten to do yet that you would like to do?
I've already base jumped. I did 1 illegal and 1 legal, and I don't need to do that again. So, and I've done everything that's out there, and almost 23,000 jumps. I've competed in relative work. I've got world records in that. So I don't. Now it's just my time frame is I only have time to train for accuracy. But I just think it'll be curious to see where we are in 10, 20 years from now. I don't know what will evolve, what canopies will evolve. I think it's kind of gotten to, now these guys jump little teeny 97, 88 square foot canopies. That's crazy, but they're good. They can have it. The young people are doing that, not us old folks.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
beyond that
can
age.
you tell us about your illegal base jump? Has the statute of limitations passed?
Oh yeah, I never got caught, but I didn't know it was illegal. I was out there at the gorge. What's it? Fayetteville. What's that one off the bridge? Um, Out of Fayetteville, West Virginia.
Oh, yeah, the
The
bridge or
the
The
bridge.
gorge.
the
Yeah, the
gorge. Yeah,
bridge, the legal,
not
the
rural
legal
gorges.
one. So I show up and I borrowed a rig, a Firefly, from a friend, and then the guy that wasn't quite running it, but second to running it, he knew all about base jumping. He helped me pack it, put the rig together, and then he says, "Hey Cheryl, I'm gonna go make a base jump over here." So I says, "Oh, okay, yeah, I just want to show you this." So yeah, I ended up jumping a fence. I was with the airlines at that time, part time in the military, and I jump a fence, and then we get up under a catwalk under a bridge. It's 200 feet, round parachute, and he held on to it. So now I'm on the edge, and this one lady left first before me. She had a square, and below us at 200 feet is a coal field. So it's hard as a rock. And he says, "Oh, Cheryl, if the cops come, just drop your gear and run and swim across the river. Go across the river, and you're safe over there." And I go, "What?" He says, "Yeah, this is illegal. Illegal." It was like, "Oh no, I can't be doing this." So, well, you're already up here. There's no way you can get down. So I sat on that place for 15 minutes trying to convince myself to jump off. And that's the most scared I've ever been in my entire life, and I don't ever need to repeat it ever again. And he says, "Just jump out," and I finally did it. To me, it was committing suicide. And that thing opened so hard. I have it on video, and my feet went above my head, and then it came down, and it was 7-second canopy ride, and I landed and did a good PLF. And then I went to Bridge Day. It was the second year they ever had it. And they go, "Oh, let's see what Cheryl does." Most people knew me then. And it says, "Let's see what she, this is, yeah, it's 780 feet. That's nothing compared to 200. I just leaped off and jumped off, and, with no issue. That was an easy one. But then I didn't want to land in the sandbar because the way the winds were, and I just opted to go in the water. I didn't care. It was too unsafe for me to make the sandbar with the rocks and the way the winds were, and it was just, hey, land in the water and pick me up, and out I go. So that's it. and that's enough adrenaline to last me forever.
That's cool.
So
You're
Let's
on
see.
mute.
So, yep,
Oh,
there
there
we
you
go.
go. There you go.
So, Cheryl, you are out here competing. Is your event done?
we finished today, this morning, and it was terrible for all of us. Not today. Today was the winds were good, but where the tuffet was put, and tuffet was put all right, but the problem was the wind directions on Monday when we jumped. We made 8 jumps. We finished team accuracy is 8 jumps, and then you do 9th and 10th as individual, but you count all your scores individual also. And but they were coming over the hangar and the trees, and so we had, I called it combat accuracies, the dragon that was out there, and you got the rotors, and it was either, I mean, it made for, you had to really fly the canopy, but the problem was, like, I came in and 50 feet above the ground, the whole canopy just went this way. It just took me. There's no control in it. I'm trying to control it. The judges are going, "Oh my gosh, she's going to land off the tuffet," and then I was able to swing it back in and get 1 centimeter. I mean, that was pure luck. I got back in because I thought I was going to break my legs outside. It was dangerous out there on what the conditions were. They weren't high winds of any sort. They just had rotors. And if you got a rotor of some sort, rotors were different out there. They were shoved you from the back. They twisted you over here. They grabbed that whole canopy and slammed you over here. And so there's the worst scores we've ever had in accuracy. Very high scores. Everybody got at least one out jump. I didn't get an out jump, but I had 13 centimeter to 10, 11. That killed me. So I ended up taking third place, and the one with the least amount of out jumps won the meet. I basically could say I had 3 out jumps, but they weren't really out jumps, because out jump is 16 centimeters. So my highest score was 13 and a 10, 11. And then I had 0, 1, 3, it was, was all right after that. But so no one was very satisfied with their ability. As I say, it was the luck of the draw of what you got.
Hmm.
So, and then today was fine. The winds were from the right direction, and we can really prove our skills, shoot accuracy, and not save our lives. Because that's what it came down to for a lot of people, to save their life. Save themselves from getting injured. They didn't care about a score. Who cared? We want to walk away from it, and that's not the way you want to compete. That tuffet needed to be moved out 100, 200 feet away from the tree line and buildings.
And your award ceremony is tomorrow, is that right? And then
Tomorrow night, because everybody is gone because we finished today. And normally we do the awards like 2 hours later. So they all went and left. And so, like, they've been joking with me, "Cheryl, have you ever stood on the podium with just yourself and 2 base jumpers?" Would accuracy ever come to that? Because the base jumpers were third place for team. It was the lowest turnout we have ever had, due to, we just finished a world meet, and it's an off year, so people opted on the U.S. team not to. I mean, two of the U.S. team members were here, for men wise, 2 for women wise. Everybody else stayed home, work, money, whatever issues, and it's not a year to pick a U.S. team, so a lot of people don't come on the off years.
yeah, so for people that don't compete or are not familiar with that, an off year just means that it's not a selection year for
It's
the
not.
world meet.
It's not a selection year for the world meet team. Correct. So I mean, we'll get more people next year because it'll be a selection. This year, it wasn't. So the people that aren't really competitive wise, they'll stay home. They'll try it on the on year.
But then you're sticking around because you've got
I got the Hall of
an
Fame.
induction. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Hall of
Hall of
Fame.
Fame.
So tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Well, I was inducted the first year in 2010. So, along with like Ted Strong, Gene Thacker. I'm the only one, actually, out of six of us. Lou Sanborn is still alive, D1, and myself. That's all that's alive, that's left. And then I support it. I come every year to the Hall of Fame if I'm capable. I've only missed one out of all these years since 2010. And so I'm there for the support and congratulate the people that do get inducted. And I think it's a great event, and hopefully we'll get this museum built. I was there for the groundbreaking of in Kissimmee where we had the ground. We're going to build a museum, so hopefully sometime soon we get this thing rolling.
Can you talk about the museum a little bit? Like what's holding it up? What's stalling the progress?
I mean, what's holding up is money. After COVID, we are about ready to build, and then lumber and all that stuff went through the roof, and we didn't have the money for the cost, the increase of cost of building. But what we're going to build first is a vertical wind tunnel. Okay, so it's going to be where people that drive by can actually see through it and see the people doing horizontal wingsuiting flying. That's what it's all about, wingsuiting. It's going to be a wingsuiting thing. So everybody will be tethered on a harness. So the kids can go in there, adults, whatever, but most of the kids, it's called the um, experience of skydiving. A skydiving experience, something like experience of skydiving experience. It's not going to be like the um, Hall of Fame parachuting. Yeah, you're gonna have the Hall of Fame there in the middle. On the one side, you'll have this um, tunnel, wind tunnel. Then you're gonna have the Hall of Fame, which is virtual and real stuff in there. And right in the middle, it's where when you step in, you get your ticket, like you're buying a jump ticket, and then you step into the real airplane that George W. Bush jumped out of the Skyvan that Eloy donated. So you got half of the Skyvan, but then you got virtual stuff for it. So the rumbles when it takes off, and you can feel yourself in a plane for a ride with the virtual scene, everything. And then the ramp opens, and you step off like you're going to jump out, and you step off into the air. It looks like you stepped off in the air, and then these guys now go into the museum. So they get the feel of a jump, but don't actually. And then they go into the museum that's going to have um, the real stuff there, which we go through of, you know, real items from old parachutes, harnesses to the future stuff that we've done, and along with anything virtual. If you want to read something about someone, you just touch their name and all the stuff comes up. So you can read as much as you want, see what you want, and at the end it shows you what all the drop zones are in the U.S. And then next to the museum, the other side of the museum, we're going to have a vertical tunnel. So we'll have a horizontal and we'll have a vertical, and they are going to be the biggest in the world. We're getting the ones from Sweden, so they will be the biggest, and it's called the Skydiving Experience, and we're right by Epcot, Disney World, and all that. So if you just put it as a museum, no one's going to come visit, because you got to attract. And we're building right next to us. That building is like 300 some. There's three buildings that are very expensive um, to rent hotels, like 300 rooms in a hotel, but they're really for the upper class per se folks. So we're really going to look a real good location. So it's going to be a very good successful museum. Bring some money in. The problem is we just need to build it. So yeah,
Cheryl,
the concept is phenomenal. It's really good.
can you just mention, if you know, like, if people wanted to check that project out, like online, is there a website? Or if they wanted to help fund that project, is there a donation site, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's a donation site, I think, through USPA. It's called the Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame Museum, and you can donate there. And um, what they have brochures, and here at the event we will explain everything. What they haven't done, they only do it to the VIPs of what's really going on and how really what's happening with the how we're building this and the concept and the whole thing that we get to see. And they have not put that out yet, and they need to do that. I know they're working on it where you guys, local Joe Blow out there, can know what this is all about, because this is your future here. This is history here. And then you guys are going to have to keep adding to it, because we're going to be long gone and dead pioneers, and then you guys got to keep this thing going, because you don't want to lose its history of parachuting. It's too valuable out there. There's too much that has gone on. What all of us have done to get to where you guys where the young folks are now, the disciplines that you're in. I mean, think of the manufacturers that manufactured it, from Ted Strong to Bill Booth to all those people, from tandems that we never had tandems before, till 86. I got my tandem rating in 86, and that's when it started way back. And, AFF, all of that wasn't ever around. It was all static line. Everything's just progressed. Where's it going to be, as I say, 20 years from now? I have no clue.
We need to get Bill Booth or Ted Strong on the podcast. That'd be
Well,
great.
Ted's dead. He died 10
Oh,
years ago.
I didn't know that. Man, okay.
Yeah, he was testing his. He had a what do you call it? Those UVs. He was jumping. Where you jump the oh vehicle out of the back of an airplane, drive it out, and then he's just doing the parachuting used for like the military, so they can drive these. Bring your Jeep and so forth into the battlefield and parachute it in. That's what he was doing for the military, and the parachute malfunctioned, and he went in with it. He couldn't. The problem is it opened up hard, and then malfunctioned, and it broke his neck when he was sitting in the vehicle. So he couldn't get out. The other guy got
Yeah.
out and couldn't get Ted out, and he went in with the vehicle.
Yeah.
He's the one, doing all the testing, building the canopies, all that stuff. So he was the one who was always, making it and actually physically testing them.
And when I jumped out of the Skyvan that George Bush jumped out of, that's going to be in the Hall of Fame, I jumped out of it when it was still in service, and it had a sticker right above the door that said George W. Bush hit his head right here.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Chris, have you ever seen that video?
No.
I mean, he was a pretty tall guy,
He
and
was.
it's
He
a
did hit his
Skyvan.
head on that,
Yeah, you can so clearly see it in the video when you know it's coming. Like his head just snaps back as they leave the plane. It looks really painful.
Yeah.
I
need to look that up.
So, Cheryl, do you know who's getting inducted this year? Do you know the people off the top of your head?
I know them, but I haven't looked at it lately to tell you off the top of my, and that's terrible. I need to go look at the list so I can congratulate them when I see them.
Yeah. I know there's a free flyer in there. I think Olaf Zipser is being inducted.
Olaf, yeah, and I know him. Yeah.
Yep. Sort of one of the fathers of modern free flying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so one of my questions that I wrote down is if you have advice for younger jumpers, and I might know the answer based on some of the stuff you said, but what would you tell newer jumpers, guidance you would give them about how to be successful in the sport?
I think, first of all, this sport it's very safe, but it's very dangerous, and you've got to respect your equipment and your peers, because it can kill you in a heartbeat. And I see too often, that you get to 500, you're very cautious up to 500 jumps, and then you think you know it, and that's where you push yourself, and that's where you get injured or something scares you to death, going, whoa, I need to step back a little bit. So your whole career, you really need to keep that in the back of your mind, that you can't um, you you can't push that envelope. Yes, we have to push the envelope if we've got the skill, but you can't go outside that envelope. You got to know where your limitations are, and so and there's a lot of things they can get into. Just fun jumping with each other, with their friends. Um, if they've got the time and energy, they can get into competitions, and or they can get into being cameramen, working tandems. There's so many opportunities now where there wasn't before. They can make a living out of it if they wish to, but I highly suggest they have some other sideline skill, because if you do get injured, you're done. I mean, you're done for a year, 6 months, whatever. Now what are you going to do? So just don't rely on. I'm just going to be a skydiver and a bum, because you won't last too long.
Just because
You guys are here in your podcast. I mean, have something on the side. You can live on a drop zone, enjoy it. I did that for 2 years, and I loved it. I was young. I mean, I was flying skydivers, I was jumping, and I loved every minute of it. But I know I needed to move on and have some other skill out there.
do you think that is there a future for accuracy? Is that
There
or
is
I know you,
there is overseas. It's huge.
yeah.
It's the biggest anywhere in the world is overseas. It's we have 45 teams at 5 people. That's 255 competitors each meet I go to over there. 255 competitors, only 3 win. So it's not like having 4 8-way teams and 3 win. I mean, we have, it's huge, absolutely huge, and it will last for a long, long time, because we can jump into our older, not till we're old,
Were
basically.
you in the Did you go to the 2012 meet in Dubai?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was there as well, and it was so many accuracy people.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was huge, huge discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And is it still part of the SISM, part of the military competition?
It is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
nice. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll keep it alive
It'll keep
for
it
sure.
going.
And
Mm-hmm.
as far as like, kind of recruiting younger jumpers inside the U.S., I feel like it's a little tough. It's a little bit like crew. Like you need a special breed for it. Um, do you guys as accuracy jumpers do you host any camps? Do you do coaching?
I
Like
mean,
is there
I held camps for 15 years and coached. I even coached overseas the Brazil team, and they ended up winning. But yeah, I coach and time wise. But then at my drop zone, I've finally got another guy that is doing accuracy, but he can only, I made him several months, a lot of jumps. You're going to shoot accuracy, demo landings in the pea gravel pit. And then I'm going to bring you to the tuffet, because you don't want to bring them too soon, because they can injure themselves. They get into deep breaks, land short, and they're done. I don't. We don't want any of that. We want them to enjoy it, love it, and not hurt themselves. Because sometimes you can push them too far, too fast. It's like putting someone on a small canopy when they don't have the skill for it yet. So, yes, it's there. The problem is the only accuracy is where the accuracy tuffets are. Lake Wales, Skydive Ricks, Chester, and out in Arizona and Maricopa. That's it. That's all you got.
and
But
you're still jumping it in Paraclete?
no, I jump at Chester, South Carolina. I
Chester,
live in
sorry.
Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I live in Charlotte. And see, every
Right.
drop zone in the old days, every drop zone had a pea gravel pit. Everybody shot accuracy, period. They don't care what you did up in the air. You came down and you shot accuracy. That was it. But now it's not that way. As I say, things have changed. Very few drop zones will even let you out low. Oh yeah, we'll let you out at 55 if you've got some other people going at 55. They're not going to let one person out low. You're going to pay high. You're going to pay the high dollars for a high jump. A lot of them don't
Yeah.
even have low jumps, so it's costly for us, and then it gets discouraging. I mean, in my drop zone, they've been real good. They've been helping out. But it was getting to the point, Cheryl, we've got 2 airplanes here, 3. We just can't let you out. We can't let you out low. And I don't blame them because it costs them too much for them to hover around waiting to bring me in because they got tandems, they got this, and the timing doesn't work. Timing doesn't work out. So I
Yeah.
don't jump there if they've got more than 2 airplanes. It's impossible.
And after the Hall of Fame, Cheryl, what's next for you?
I'm just going to take my airplane up. I got a Cessna 185 and take my friend she's from Slovenia. She was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. So she's over here and visiting, and we're going to fly up to Minnesota, then up to Duluth, and I'm going to show her that area up there and then fly home. And then I start a full-time job October 27th, part-time. I'll commute down to Savannah, Charlotte, Savannah, teaching on the Gulfstream, the 500, 6, 7, and 800 series. So I've been teaching on the 7.6 and flying the Airbus since I retired from the airlines 4 years ago. But I've never done the Gulfstream's the state of the art airplane now, so it's something I haven't done. I've done all the airline airplanes. So I'm going to move into the corporate side and really teach a sophisticated and fly a very state-of-the-art airplane. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
And then I'll be
Cheryl,
training.
I have
I'll
two.
be training in between my flying. Go ahead, Chris.
I have 2 friends right now that are trying to get their pro rating, and so they're
What's that?
Balloons.
when you do certain things, it automatically, and I think if you do thumbs up, it does something else.
Oh, that's just look at that.
And then if you do like a heart, it'll do hearts. I think, I don't know, something.
This is just the studio.
It's all of them do it now. Zoom, FaceTime, Microsoft Teams. They all do it now.
Keep up with the times.
Sorry, what I was going to say, Cheryl, I have 2 friends that are trying to get their pro rating right now. And so part of that, to get that, you have to do the 10 declared accuracy jumps. And so it's fun for me because just watching them, try to decide when they're going to declare a jump. And then my one friend the other day, he had gotten up to I think he had gotten 4. So this was going to be number 5. So he declared it. And you have to have, somebody there with a certain rating to witness it or whatever. Verify. And when he came down, I don't know what happened, but he was not even close, man. Like, not even close. And he was like, that counts, right? That counts. And she was like, no, not even close, man. So
you got to start over.
Yeah, you got to start over.
I got to start all over.
But so what I'm wondering, Cheryl, are there any like little tips or tricks that you give to people? Not necessarily for that pro rating, but I mean, just people being in general, being a more accurate canopy pilot. Are there certain things that you find yourself telling people over and over and over?
Well, the whole thing is like I teach a class also on emergency exits. We take. I'm going to come back to that in a second. We take our seatbelts off at 1,000 feet or 1,500. The reason for that is because now if something happened to the airplane, the guy says get out. Everybody's getting out. So now all of a sudden you got 22 people in an otter, and you've got to go out stable out at 1,500 feet. You can't just hop out and then free fall for a while because you'll hit the ground before that happens. So I teach a course that these guys learn to get stable immediately out of the airplane because half of them can never go low, and they've got to get out and pull immediately, and then they've got to take their reserves because more likely they're on their reserves at 1,500 feet. And fly that reserve into a very small area, tight area, because that happens to be where you're at when you got out with 22 folks. So how are you going to make a stack? So I teach a course that these guys learn how to make a stack of 5 people, and they're flying their small canopies like a reserve and land in a 5 meter area, 5 to 10 meter area. And so the biggest thing is you've got to fly. Most people don't. You got to fly your canopy at 50% brakes. You fly around especially when you're coming in for your, downwind base to final, fly at 50. No, because then if you go, oh, I'm short, you got running power. You can run with it. And if you're high, S it off a little bit, whatever, and then let it run and go. And I see everybody out there flying full flight the whole time, and then they land 100 yards short or this or over, or they don't know what the winds. You can, if you fly at 50, you can feel the winds, like, oh, I'm not going very, very fast downwind, or I'm not even moving forward now that did a wind check. So at 50% brakes are not going anywhere. It's like, oh, I need to stay a little bit closer. So this is your chance to check your winds out. You can't check your winds out when you're full blown run it all the way. And when you swing around, you got a wide swing, and now you're really out in the boondocks. So people need to learn to fly the canopies at 50%. I find that the younger ones have no clue, and some of the older ones don't know that they could fly at 50. They say, "Oh, we can't do that." Yes, you can. Small canopy, big, it doesn't matter. But some of them need then full flight, run it, and flare it to land, or a slight turn. If you're flying a Spectre or a Stiletto, you need some energy. You need to make a little slight 90-degree turn and get some speed up there to get the right landing. So everything is dependent upon how you do that landing. Where do you fly at full flight? 100 feet, 200, little forward, slight turn, little, you know, front riser, whatever it takes to make that landing.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing, is learn how to fly a canopy at 50% brakes. And then you can get into a tight area if you had to. You can just S it right across the trees, fly at 50, and then run it right there at the last 20 feet and make it in.
That's good. That's helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That might help somebody out one day.
Yeah. It has for 2 people that I taught.
Might help me out one day. Who knows?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Cool. I think we might be wrapping up. We normally do it about an hour, and we're at almost an hour and 15. So I think we're doing great.
Okay.
You got anything else for us, Cheryl? Any words of wisdom to end the cast?
No. I just say that I've been jumping 52 years, and I love it. I love the sport. I love the people. I love the competition. And it's been very interesting. 52 years, from the rounds, the squares, the evolution of everything that's been evolved, anywhere from, cypresses, vigils, your opening stuff, from pullouts to spring-loaded pilot chutes, all that stuff. So it's come a long ways, and it's gotten safer. It's less people getting killed, except people hook themselves in. That they kill themselves under very good very good canopies, full canopies, because they're pushing themselves. They're they're invincible, basically. They're out to prove whatever, get a little bit whatever, and they're overstepping their boundaries of what their skill level is. So take it slow, listen to the good coaches out there, and just play it safe. Just play it safe. You get the skill levels will come. Don't try to push it. Don't try to beat someone that's got. I mean, if I go, I'm not jumping, you guys. It's amazing. No one else goes up in the air. Because there's a reason. It's not safe. I've been there, done it. I've seen it, and I don't take any chances anymore. I'd rather have tomorrow and sit this one out today, and not end up
Wisdom.
in the hospital or something.
Yeah, that's wisdom.
And I see that too often out there. They go, oh, and then they say, oh, I wish I never made that jump. Try to beat the thunderstorm. Whatever. Got to get one more in. It's like, come on, you guys. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Always tomorrow. All right.
Well,
Chris,
Cheryl,
you good?
No, Cheryl, thank you so much for joining
All right,
us.
you're welcome.
Really,
I enjoyed
really
talking to
nice to
both of
have
you.
you.
This was great. And I will see you at the awards tomorrow, and I will see you at the Hall of Fame in a couple of days.
Sounds
That'll be
good.
great.
It's
All right.
Thanks very
been,
much, and for everybody else who joined us, really appreciate you tuning in again, and we will, Chris and I will see you soon.
yeah.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.